Who's a good pig? Who's a good pig? That's right, Poogie's a good pig. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Monster Hunter World. Just showing Poogie some love, because Poogie is great, and if you don't show Poogie some love, there's something horribly wrong with you. But anyways, today we are going to be going over a couple of the Switch Axe builds that I have completed. I'm currently wearing what I think is my favorite one, and I have two others that are kind of situationally dependent. Each are very, very good. So we're going to go into the actual equipment and the stats in each of the equipment sets and some reasoning behind why I chose to go this route. There are some very important things in here, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about each of those here in a moment. But I do want to take this moment to go ahead and say that if you guys have any other build recommendations, definitely leave them in the chat below. Because then we can actually start some form of discussion on the best builds for the Switch Axe, and I can even make a comparison video in the future between whatever is in the comments as well. So I really want this to be an educational thing for a lot of the people that are new to Monster Hunter, as well as those that are experienced, and see if we can come up with some better builds. So we'll go ahead and get right into this build real quick. I love this build that I've got going on right now. It is quite good, and I've got two others that are very good as well. But let's go ahead and go into the equipment info. Currently using the Hazak Demois 2, which is the rarity 7, or the end of the tree for the Val Hazak tree, which is very, very good. Now, I really like this weapon for a couple different reasons. It has really good dragon elemental damage, as well as a good base attack. Now, a lot of people use the Nergigante one over here, which has less elemental damage, more Elder Steel. Now, it does have the power file, which is different than what we're going to be using with this build, which is the power element file, which is very interesting, and I really love the way it works. Another good Switch Axe is the Diablo's tree here. I'm probably going to work towards this in the future, but I still think I'm going to like the Hazak Demois 2 versus the Axe of Demons, and that's going to be more of a personal preference kind of thing. But we'll go ahead and go into the rest of the build real quick. I don't know why I said build, it's a build. So for our neck piece, we're using the Attack Charm 3. I usually always keep the Bandit Mantle, but the Rocksteady Mantle is very good for the set for multiple reasons that we'll go over here shortly. But then I've got the Dragon King Eye Patch with the Weakness Exploit level 2, and then I've got Part Breaker Gem put into that, so that gives part damage plus 10%. And then I've got the Nergigante Male Alpha, which gives us Stamina Surge 2. So we get Stamina Recovery Speed plus 20%, Agitator level 1, and then Attack Boost level 3. Now, it might be better to actually just go ahead and go into the full set of stats that we've got for this. So we've got Nergigante Hunger level 3, or basically just the actual thing. We got 3 pieces of Nergigante on with this set. So regenerates your health as you continuously attack a monster. Recovery varies by weapon. So we've got Attack Boost level 7, which gives us plus 21 attack and plus 5% affinity. Weakness Exploit level 3. Attacks that hit weak spots have 50% increased in affinity. Then we've got Agitator level 3, so increases attack power and affinity when large monsters become enraged. Now, this is where I switch out two things. I do like having all of my stats 100% there across the board. Now, a lot of people recommend Agitator. I don't think it's as great as a lot of people do, because it's only there when the monster's enraged, and then most of the time when it's enraged, you're not able to attack it that much anyways. So Agitator I really don't think is that great, but we do have level 3 on here because I'm testing it out for this build. While active, grants attack plus 12 and increased affinity by 9%, so that's pretty good. Then we've got Dragon Attack level 2 plus, so we get plus 60 Dragon Attack, which is very nice with this build. Handicraft level 2. Now, I have been using Handicraft in a lot of these builds, and I do know that there are weapons that you can use that are already into the white sharpness. If you guys need to know more about sharpness, I do have a video on that where I will go well in depth into the sharpness and how well it can be used when you actually increase the tier of sharpness that you're able to use. Now, Handicraft level 2 with this build does get us into the white tier of sharpness, so we get a 10% elemental damage increase as well as a 10% just, what is it called? The raw damage increase. So it's very, very good. And I'll show you the difference with and without the handicraft in there. We've also got Stamina Surge, so he speeds up stamina recovery by 20%. Part Breaker from the gem. Then we've got, whoops, that's the wrong button. And then Protective Polish, which is very good with the handicraft, because we'll be able to keep that white level of sharpness significantly longer. So we'll go into the rest of the pieces. I've got the Nergigante Vambraces Alpha, which gives us the Agitator 2 and the Attack Boost 1. And then we've got the Nergigante Coil B, which we've got Attack Boost, and that's where I've got the Final Point of Weakness Exploit gemmed in. And then we've got the Death Stench Heal, which gives us the Handicraft level 2, and the Dragon Attack, which is plus 60 Dragon Attack. It's very, very good. We'll go into what I have set for my decorations and what you can change out. So, if you want your weapons to stay sharper in the white tier of sharpness longer, you can go ahead and equip the Handicraft Jewel 3. I'll probably interchange this depending on the fight, but for things that die quickly and for when I'm farming, I'm going to use the Destroyer Jewel 2, which does part damage plus 10%. And then for longer fights, if that's even a thing anymore for me, I'll equip the Handicraft Jewel. But most of the time, by the time you've done enough damage, it's already running away, and you can resharpen your blades to reapply the Sharp Jewel Protective Polish effect. Now for this set, you do need the Sharp Jewel 2 for it to be very effective, and you need Handicraft. So just keep that in mind. So this gem and the Attack Gem Jewel are really the only two that you need in the set, as well as the Tenderizer Jewel 2, which gives you the Weakness Exploit. So the only one that you could really switch out in this set is whatever you put in your Dragon King eye patch. You can put whatever you want in here. I'll play switching it in between the Destroyer Jewel and the Brace Jewel, which prevents knockbacks because people are douches and don't know about friendly fire, and it's a nightmare. So I'll usually switch this in if I get sick of being friendly fired. Anyway, so that is all the jewels and the equipment. Now I'll go into why I really like Handicraft. I've done this in a few other episodes, but with this particular build, Handicraft is amazing. So first things first, I'm going to show you what the damage with just this weapon in the blue tier is with this particular build. So we're just going to do a couple basic attacks here just to show it off. So we got 94 damage for our crits, and then 77 damage for our normal attacks, which is pretty good. So 91 there, 75, not too bad, 94. 91, so we're pretty much peaking out at 94 for our crits. We crit a lot in this build. It is very high affinity. It's quite good. Anyways, okay, so let's go ahead and equip our Handicraft boots, get our weapon up to the white tier of sharpness, and you'll see a significant damage increase. There we go. Now, the reason that you want the Protective Polish in this build, that's not right. There we go. Is because you'll see that once we actually sharpen our weapon, we're going to get a buff on our sharpness that prevents our blades from losing any sharpness for a minute after sharpening, which is very good. So now we're doing 105 for our crits there and 89 for our normal attack. We're also doing increased elemental damage when we're in elemental mode, which is just a ridiculous amount of damage. It is insane the amount of damage that this weapon can pump out. So we're doing 86 there for our normal attack. And see what we're doing. So it's a 10% damage increase. It is very nice, and that adds up with this particular build extremely fast. I screwed up the combo, but don't mind me. The combo you're supposed to use for this is different. But anyways, you can see here that the damage increase from this Handicraft is insane. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this arena real quick. And what we're going to do just before we actually go into the fight, we're going to make sure to sharpen up our blades. And this is something you're going to want to do pretty much any time just before you get into the fight. So that way you keep your white level of sharpness as long as you possibly can. Now, just for the sake of this, I'm not going to do any money farming, but I am going to put on my Rocksteady Mantle. And I missed them out because I'm special. But you'll see once we actually get into it that the amount of damage from this can be pretty substantial. especially once we get the elemental effect going off. Now, this is why the Rocksteady Mantle is very good for this build, because when you have it equipped, you can do a ton of damage without being worried about any form of knockbacks. It is quite good. So we were able to keep up the actual white level of sharpness for the majority of the fight, which is very good. We only went down to blue for a second early in the fight, and then we went down to blue at the end. So as long as you're making sure to sharpen. Now, if you do have any way to increase maybe just like some speed sharpening into the build, then I would recommend doing that. But otherwise, you really don't need it as long as you're playing smart. Otherwise, you're doing a ton of damage, and you'll usually get a break where the monster tries to run away. Although, if you do have the perfect timing for it, you can actually mount it with the elemental discharge, which is very nice. And you can do quite a bit of damage and prevent monsters from running away that way as well. So, it's a very good build. You can see just how much damage it can pump out in a very quick amount of time, especially with the white tier of sharpness, with both the elemental discharge when you're attacking and the actual physical damage from the weapon itself. This can pump out an absolute crap ton of damage. Now that we've gone over this build, let's go ahead and go into the other ones that we've got here as well. So we'll go ahead and grab this one here, which I quite like this as well. Specifically for farming, I think it's quite a bit better. And we'll go ahead and go into the stats in this. Now, it's not too different. We're pretty much going on the same premise with using the sharpness build. But we're going to go into here, and you'll see that we have the attack boost level 7, weakness exploit level 3, dragon attack level 2 still, handicraft level 2, and we've got part breaker with plus 20% damage to parts, which is really good for when you're actually farming things. Critical eye, so we get another 3% affinity out of this build. We've got protective polish, and we've got critical boost, which gives us across the board at all times 5% more damage dealt by critical hits, and we crit a lot in this build, so having it there at all times is, I think, a lot better than having Agitator. Some people will argue with me, but I think it's significantly better just to have it 24/7, 100% of the time, versus maybe 10 or 20% of the fight. So that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Then we also got Flinch free if you're doing group quests and you don't want to worry about knockbacks or anything like that. Definitely gotta love Flinch free. So we'll go into the equipment. We're still using the attack 3 charm, the same weapon that we're using before, but we've swapped out the body piece with the Dobermail beta. So that's where we put the attack boost, and we put Park Breaker on there. And then we've got the Xenojiva Claws Alpha, where we get Flinch free, or no, beta is what I'm using. No, Alpha, okay. Because it does come with a gem, that's right, it comes with a gem slot. So we got Flinch free, critical boost, and critical eye in there. And then we're using the Nergigante coil still, and the Death Stench heal. So we'll go into what we've got socketed in here. current equipment. So the nice thing about the Dragon King eye patch is you can go all the way up to a tier 3 jewel in there, and you can do the same thing with the Dober mail. So if there are other things that you want to stack, whether you want to put more handicraft in there, or you want to put earplugs or more brace to be able to prevent the entirety of prevents knockbacks and tripping, you can do that. You've got a lot of different options here for different types of sockets. Now the only one that you actually need is the Sharp Jewel 2, and then the Tenderizer Jewel 2, which gives you the Weakness Exploit. So these other 3 gem slots can be used for whatever you want, so it gives a lot of room that way. And otherwise, the damage of the build is pretty much the same, except you can break parts a little bit easier, and you get slightly more affinity and more damage all the time for crits. So I really like that build a lot. We'll go into the other one that we're doing as well, which I like to use when we're actually fighting Elder Dragons. So I'll go ahead and switch to that one right now, and this is right here. Go ahead and use this loadout. Now this one, you'll see that we've changed a little bit, but it's still the same premise, using the sharpness with the protective polish and the handicraft. The only thing that we've swapped out in this one is the Rathalos Mail Beta and the Rathalos Helm Beta. So with the Rathalos set, we get increased elemental damage, fire, water, thunder, ice, and dragon when landing critical hits. Now this is a 3% boost to your critical hit damage, so it's pretty good. It's really not the best thing in the world, but it is an additional bonus. And then we've got Weakness Exploit on here, and then we've put more Dragon Attack. So this is where we've actually stacked Dragon Attack for fighting the Elder Dragons, which comes out really well. And we've got the Rathalos Helm Beta as well, where we've got Attack Boost in here, and then Dragon Attack as well. So we'll go into the full set of skills. And in here we've got, whoops, so we've got, okay, there we go, Rathalos Mastery, Attack Boost level 7, Dragon Attack level 4, which gives us Dragon Attack plus 5, and then bonus, or 5%, and then bonus plus 100. So quite a bit more Dragon Attack out of this. And we've got Weakness Exploit level 3, Handicraft level 2, Critical Eye, Critical Boost, Flinch Free, and Protective Polish. So it's a lot like the other one, except we don't have Part Breaker. We've replaced the Part Breaker gems with Dragon Attack gems. We can go into what we've got socketed into this set. Now this set we still have the Sharp Jewel, and you're always going to need that for this particular set. And we've got 2 stacks of Dragon Jewel 1, because both of these have the 1 slot socket, so you really don't have many options there. You could change that out if you want. Elemental attack power has a maximum limit. I don't exactly know what that is, but it seems to be doing pretty good the way I've got this. Then we've got the Expert Jewel in there, and then the Tenderizer Jewel, which you're going to need. So you can swap out these 3 if you so desire, but I like the way this build is actually built out, and it's pretty good. And we'll go ahead and fight an Elder Dragon with it real quick as well. Alright, so just as before, we sharpened before the fight, and I realized that I said Elder Dragons. I just meant like just dragons in general. I don't know why I said Elder Dragons, but mistakes happen. I'll see that we can do quite a bit of damage to this guy with the setup that we've got. There we go. Whoops. Didn't realize he was going to do that. Alright, so those are currently my Switch Axe builds. I am a big fan of the Nergigante set that I have now, as well as the Part Breaker set. So I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you think you've got something better, definitely leave it there as well, and I will be more than happy to give it a shot. If you got something better, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Definitely don't mind being wrong, but I think this set is pretty freaking amazing. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video or found it useful, don't forget to show your support and smash that like button. And as always, I'll see you all in the next one. Come here, Poogs.